Apparently my microphone has been bad the last couple times. I hope I fixed it. I certainly tried to. I hope I succeeded. I will be very sad if I didn't. Alright, so there was some very upsetting things last time. I'm sure it only goes up from here. The sky outside the train car was turning dark. The Yamanote line car was packed with salarymen heading home from work and students heading home from school. Yua Kusunoki and Yasuji Ban were standing next to each other, hanging onto the straps as the train rumbled and shook. They made a strange pair, and Yua had been glancing around for a while now to see if they'd attracted anyone's attention. She kept fiddling nervously with her hair and her glasses. She'd just met Ban a few days ago and wasn't up to making friendly conversation with him. There was only one stop between Harajuku and Shibuya, but the 3 minutes it took to go between them felt far, far longer than it usually did. Ban was silently looking out the window. He made no attempt to speak to her. In Yua's mind, Ban wasn't a bad person, but he was a little scary. She'd met several police officers after what had happened with her sister, and didn't have a high opinion of any of them. Maybe that's what made her feel awkward around Ban. That was how she saw it anyway.
だから地下15階の番人倒せば隠しダンジョン行けるだろ常識的に考えて
万人どこにいるかわからんなり
Two men standing near the doors had been talking in loud voices ever since she'd got on at Harajuku. They were making no effort to avoid disturbing the other passengers, and Yua was forced to listen to their conversation.
マップの左端の方だよ一目でわかるだろ番人
っていうか万人と警官の区別つかないぞなもし
いやいやどう見ても番人だろどこが警官なんだよ番人は銃持ってねえよ
They were wearing unfashionable clothes with bandanas on their heads. They wore fingerless gloves and had tightly packed backpacks on their backs. Oh, backpacks, you say? They were the type commonly called otaku. That rare breed. As an anime and manga fan herself, Yua wasn't really bothered by their appearance. But she'd never been to Akihabara before, and she'd never seen someone dressed like such a stereotypical otaku before. She took a few glances at this rare sight before realizing how rude she was being. She quickly looked away. In the seat in front of her was a teenage girl with brown hair and a blue blazer. She was typing into her phone, her fingers done up with gaudy fake nails. Each time she moved her fingers, the strap on the phone dangled. The strap-on phone dangled. I can't even tell if that's a typo or if I'm missing it. It had a tiny plastic gun at the end of it. Yua saw what the girl was writing. The girl was holding it at a bizarrely flat angle. It was almost as if she was trying to make sure Yua saw it. Want to ape... Went to ape... Oh my god, I hate... Oh, I'm immediately filled with such hate. Went to a party list night with this cop and it sucked. Star. Lamest old dude I ever met. Hope he dies. I think that's like one of these. I hate that. Don't type like that. Just use words. Yua was the girl's age, but she couldn't understand it at all. It was probably just how some girls talked when they were on the phone, but to her, it looked like some kind of code. Suddenly, a child's voice echoed loudly through the car. Yua turned toward the voice in surprise. It was a 5-year-old kid standing next to Ban. He was holding a toy water pistol and pointing it at Ban. He was pulling the trigger, but water wasn't coming out. Bond gave the child a grin. His eyes weren't laughing at all, but the child didn't seem scared in the slightest.
ノブ君やめなさい。
Someone who appeared to be the child's mother came over. She bowed shallowly in Bond's direction.
すいません。バーンバーン。ノブ君やめなさいって。
The mother's voice was stern, but all she was doing was warning him. She didn't try to take the gun or make him put it down. This plus the guy at the register who kept saying bang bang bang. It's not a coincidence. Nothing is a coincidence anymore. I don't like it. I'm nervous.
あ、本当にすいません。
ああ、構いませんよ。
バーンバーンバーン。おじさんが困ってるでしょう、ノブ君。
Something seemed really strange about the whole scene to Yua. The mother was making an angry face at her child and looking apologetically at Bond, but that was all.
バーンバーンバーン。やめなさい、怒るわよ。バーンバーンバーン。
The child seemed completely oblivious to her pleas. He kept repeating the same phrase over and over again, like a broken toy. His mother still wasn't making any real effort to stop him.
本当にすいません。バーンバーンバーン。
Bond, for some reason, made no effort to stop the child.
バーンバーン。
I mean, what do you do in that situation? This continued all the way to Shibuya. Gotta respect the patience, for sure. The train stopped at Shibuya Station and the doors opened. The kid and his mom made no effort to get off. Relieved, Yua stepped off the train with Bond. She looked at him and saw that he was chuckling.
お急ぎ中のお客様にお知らせいたします。地下鉄番号門線
More bangs, alright?
失礼しました。半蔵門線は人身事故の影響でただいま振り替え運転を行っております。お客様には大変ご迷惑をおかけして申し訳ございません。
Like I have literally nothing in my brain is telling me like what to expect. It's just tying these things together. I'm like, all right, there. But I have no idea what it means. I truly have no idea what it means. But I know it's good. I know it means something. And I'm scared. Rows of people were walking past them on the platform. As they joined the crowd heading for the Hachiko exit, Bond suddenly whispered to Yua.
まるで不特定多数の人間にストーカーされてるような気がするんだよな。
どういうことですか？
さっきみたいなことがよくあるって話さ。周囲の人間の何気ない行動がまるで自分への嫌がらせじゃねえかって思えてくるわけ。
That's why Bond hadn't said anything about the child's mischief. Little things like that were happening all the time lately. If he let each one bother him, he'd go crazy fast. Go crazy fast!
俺みたいな地味なおっさんに興味があるやつなんてそうそういねえだろうし。ただ、集団ストーカーってのは確かに存在するんだよな。
I'm not entirely familiar with that term. I can kind of piece together what it means contextually, but a type of organized stalking. This stalking, however, does not mean literally following someone everywhere they go. Instead, the stalkers, and there are always more than one, repeatedly perform minor criminal acts or acts of harassment against the victim. These acts are often extremely subtle, to the point that in some cases, the victim may not even be able to determine if they're connected. Victims of gang stalking may, for example, victims of gang stalking may, for example, find themselves repeatedly being bumped into by people they've never met, or find someone honking a car horn several times outside the home in the middle of the night. Or, for example, they may pass a stranger on the street who whispers some private fact that only the victim could know before abruptly leaving. Taken individually, these acts are relatively harmless, but experiencing several of them in a day over the course of months can have a devastating psychological impact. With enough time, even ordinary events unrelated to the conspiracy will begin to seem part of the greater plan, and the victim will find themselves unable to trust anyone. However, the difference between gang stalking and delusional paranoia is a very fine one, and care should be taken to ensure it's not the latter. Wow, that is a that was the longest one yet. And also, that sucks. I hope that never happens to me.
何が違うんですか？
被害を受けてる側からすると相手の意図や目的正体すら全く分かんねえんだ。ただ誰かに行く先々で毎日のようにさまざまな嫌がらせを受けていると感じる。集団ストーカーってのはそういうもんだ。
That sounds awful.
ただの考えすぎっていう
And I have
可
heard of
能
that.
性は
Horrifying.
十分にあり得るだろうな。脅迫観念と紙一重だ。俺の場合はそうでもなさそうなんだけどな。ここ数日は相手もかなり直接的な手段に出てきているな。
と言いますと、
手を引けって脅迫する匿名の電話が何度かかかってきてな。
For some reason, Bon had a smile on his face as he spoke. Yua felt more scared than he seemed to be. Yua felt more scared than he seemed to be. She crossed her arms over her chest.
それ大丈夫なんですか？
まあ、デカにはよくあることさ。
He spoke casually, but as he regarded her, the look on his face became more serious.
ユアちゃんは最近そんなようなことはないかい？
はい、ないと思います。
身の回りでちょっとでも違和感を覚えることがあったらすぐにおじさんに言ってくれ。ユアちゃんの身の安全を守るのは警察の仕事だからな。
はい。
Yua realized that she may have gotten into something more dangerous than she thought.
あなたは妄想の存在なんだよ。
I am? I don't feel like it. Oh no, okay. Not me. That's what Remy said, but I didn't have a clue as to what she meant. Oh, that's right, he learned his home and family aren't real. I feel like that would mess with you, yeah. I ignored her and began to look at the houses around me. I remembered this place. I'd never seen this place before. The house that should be here the house that should be here wasn't. A house that shouldn't be here was. The gap between my memories and reality became more and more stark in the light of the evening sun.
ずれてなんかない。
I said this aloud, desperately trying to deny the despair in my heart. That's right, nothing was wrong at all. That's right. Oh, I'd just gone down the wrong street. I was being silly. Nothing was wrong with the world at all. How could there be? I ran back the way I came and headed down the next street over. But again, there was a gap between my memories and what I saw. I realized my whole body was soaked with an awful sweat. It was like I was suffering from vertigo, like my legs weren't touching the ground. I felt like I was going to throw up. This poor kid.
なんでだよ。
Poor kid.
ここに僕の家があるのは間違いないんだ。僕はいつもここから小学校にも中学校にも通ってたんだ。小学校にはナナミと手をつないで登校してたし。
Is Nanami even his sister? Like, is she even real? I think she's real. Like, maybe.
中学は自転車で。
どこの
It's a lot of questions.
中学校？
Oh boy. Remy had caught up to me. Her voice was quiet.
どこって。
なんていう学校？
そんなの決まってるじゃないか。地元の。
What was its name again?
あれ。 What? 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 あれ。
I couldn't remember. I'd gone to middle school, I remembered that much, but the details weren't clear. It was like there was a fog in my head that was keeping me from seeing them. The name of the school, which class I was in, my teachers' names. I couldn't remember any specific names at all.
そんなはずないんだ。ただ忘れてるだけで。
タク、聞いて。あなたの記憶にあるのは、この場所に家があるじゃなくて、この場所に家があるはずっていう思い込み。そうでしょ。
I felt like I was gonna go crazy. Surprised you haven't at this point, honestly.
ここに来るまでの道は覚えてるんだぞ。おかしいじゃないか。
それは作られた記憶だから。
Don't make that face. Rimi's eyes were downcast. She looked sad as she lied to me. It was more stuff I didn't understand. Stuff I couldn't understand. I gave up on thinking.
タクは中学には通ってないの。
わかったぞ。これドッキリでしょ。そうなんでしょ。きっとあれだ。そう、リミとナナミが実は知り合いとかで僕を二人して騙そうとしてるんだ。なんだ。そうかそうか。ビビった。
I was trying to laugh it off, but Rimi didn't even grin.
ごめん。私これからあなたを傷つけることを言わなくちゃ。タク、あなたはね、本来いちゃいけない存在なんだよ。
嘘つくな。
Rimi was lying to me. She was my enemy too.
貼り付けはリミの仕業だな。
When I'd seen her then, it hadn't been a delusion at all. The New Gen killer wasn't the man I'd seen on TV. It was Rimi. She'd been watching me the whole time to make sure I didn't tell anybody the truth. That's why she'd stayed with me. Oops.
あの時血まみれだった。だから君が犯人だ。
あれはあなたの望んだ妄想。ギガロマニアックスの妄想はね、強すぎる場合時に混じり合うの。妄想がシンクロするんだ。
She spoke, quietly, as if to make sure I heard. Her calm demeanor just made me even more upset.
少なくともあの時、あの場所では4つの妄想がシンクロしてた。
Oh, like other people's delusions? You know what? I'm gonna go no delusion this time. Like I can't remember the last time I did. I think I did it one time because I didn't understand the system. I'm gonna go nothing. I'm gonna go blank.
私とニュージェネの犯人と。
信じるもんか。
No, hold on, Takumi. I want to hear this. Okay, so his, hers, the killer's, and I cut her off. I put my hands tight over my ears. I closed my eyes.
これは妄想だ。
Whoops. Nope, stop.
そうだよ、妄想なんだ。いつもしているみたいな。
No.
妄想は
No.
しないで。
Her voice was quiet and plaintive? Her voice was quiet and plaintive. Don't mind me, just opening Google. Sounding sad and mournful. Fair enough. Her voice was quiet and plaintive, but it was an order. I gulped.
出ないと私、タクを消さなくちゃいけなくなる。
殺すの？
Terror ran down my spine. In my mind, Rimi was changing from my savior into some sort of strange creature I didn't understand.
殺すんだな。やっぱり君が殺人犯なんだ。
Why do you keep looking like that? Biting your lip, looking down like you're about to cry. It makes it hard to get mad at you. Tell me it was all a lie. Smile and ask me if you fooled me. And then we can go back to how things were before. I want to go back.
だったら僕は何なの？
I'd
ギ
also
ガ
like
ロ
to
マニアックスの妄想によって作られた人間かな。
バカらしい。僕にはちゃんと記憶があるんだ。中学の頃の細かい記憶は思い出せないけど、忘れちゃっただけで。
あなたが生まれたのは1年半前なの。
A year and a half ago? That would be right when I started high school.
だったら僕は1歳半の赤ん坊っていうことじゃないか。バブ言ってなくちゃおかしい。
タクは生まれた瞬間からタクだった。
君がその目で見たって言いたいの？確かに僕らは1年半前から友達だったらしいね。僕は覚えてないけど。
私とあなたが会ったのは1ヶ月前。貼り付けの現場。私はもともと水明の生徒じゃないから。
Rimi was crazy. Rimi was crazy, just like the rest of them. She was super crazy, even crazier than Senna and Ayase.
誰が僕を妄想したの？言ってみてよ。
西條匠くんだよ。
This is... I'm like 40% there right now. I'm following, I think I'm following what they're giving me, and then I'm like 40% understanding and fully comprehending what's going on. I think I'm gonna catch up with the extra 60 eventually. I think I am following.
入ったアウト。
my
僕が
brain.
妄想なんでしょ。その僕が妄想して僕を作ったって矛盾してるじゃないか。はい、論破終了。それとも君の妄想？君が勝手に作り出した君だけの脳内設定なんでしょ。僕はそれに巻き込まないでよ。
私だってタクには知ってほしくなかった。ここにも来てほしくなかった。もっと強く引き止めればよかったね。
She looked up. Her face was firm. Her eyes were gazing right at me. They had a deadly serious look about them, and they were filled with light. She didn't look like she was lying at all.
でもここまで来たら本当のことを知ってもらった方がいいと思う。
But this is a lie. This was all a lie. It had to be a lie. If it wasn't, I'd go crazy. Who could believe a person who suddenly told them they were a delusion?
あなたの行動が他の人の命を削っていくんだって知ってもらった方が。
そうだ。ナナミは僕が妄想だったら僕と血が繋がってるナナミも両親も妄想ってこと？そんなの無茶苦茶。
ナナちゃんはいるよ。
The way she was talking, it was almost like she knew Nanami.
ナナミを誘拐したのは君なの？
似たようなものかもね。私はタクを守ることに気を取られすぎてナナちゃんが狙われる可能性を考えてなかった。私は誘拐犯のこと知ってる。
I knew it. She was the demon girl, just like I thought at first. I wanted Rimi, at least, to be on my side. That wish had let me keep believing for so long. There had been any number of things that should have made me suspicious. I kept closing my eyes to all of them so that I could believe her when she'd said she'd stay with me. But in the end, she was just like Yua.
君も僕を裏切るんだね。
そうだね。私はタクを裏切った。隠し事をたくさんしてた。ごめんね。私のこと恨んでいいよ。
謝られたって。僕は信じない。信じられない。
But despite what I was saying, I couldn't prove that I was real. All the strange, supernatural things I'd seen so far came flashing back to me. Could I really be sure that what Rimi was saying was crazy? Rimi slowly walked up to me and held me tight. Caught off guard, I didn't resist. Her warmth. It had saved me when I was in trouble. It had kept my mind from breaking. It had taught me kindness. But now, even as she held me in her arms, her warmth felt very far away.
そろそろ行かなきゃ。
行くって、どこへ？
ナナちゃんをさらった誘拐犯のところ。決着つけなくちゃいけないの。ナナちゃんのことも他のことも。このままだとタクも守りきれないし。
そんなの無責任だ。僕にここまでひどいこと言っておいて逃げるの。
Rimi moved away from me. A step, and then another step. Little by little, she put more and more distance between us.
戻ってくるから。タクは部屋にいて。そしたらまた一緒にいろいろ楽しいお話しよう。あなたはあそこにいてもいいんだよ。
Her voice was kind. After all the horrible things she'd said, how could she be kind again?
でも一つだけ約束。もう妄想はしない。ね。タクの妄想力はとっても強いから。妄想すればするほど本物のあなたの命が削られていっちゃうんだ。
何を？
それじゃあまた明日。ビシッ。
She gave me a salute and a smile that seemed very, very out of place. But then, right after that, silent tears began to fall from her eyes. She quickly turned her back to me and ran, shoulders shaking. Watched her go, stunned, and then collapsed to my knees.
本物の僕ってなんだよ。僕は偽物じゃない。
All the color seemed to have gone out of the world. There was no hope to be found. I'd been denied my very existence. My life had no meaning. Not even my death had any meaning. Rimi had gone, and left my useless self behind. She was my enemy too. She'd been lying to me. And now that she'd told me everything, there was no reason for her to stay with me anymore.
戻ってくるはずない。
Rimi had abandoned me. Just because I'm just a delusion, supposedly. I'm just a monster. It didn't even matter. Nothing mattered. I didn't have the strength to stand up. I still couldn't get any of what she said straight in my head. I was so shocked I couldn't even cry. The cold twilight wind was stealing the heat from my body. Even the little bit of warmth that Rimi had left was gone. I looked up at the sky for no reason at all, and the twilight had almost entirely turned to night. Oh my god. Okay, so Shogun is
これが
Takumi.
新作？
And
またへんてこね。
and this Takumi is a delusion made by Takumi, who's in a hospital room that he's hidden away with delusion power that's behind like a invisible delusion wall. And to what end, I'm not sure, but okay, so that's what I've got from that is Shogun is Takumi, and Takumi is alternate delusion Takumi, who can also make his own delusions, which is weird. And when he does that, that's the reason that Shogun Takumi is wheelchair bound and sickly and frail. That's what I'm working with right now. Moving on. Momose stared at the Garo Froggy keychain that Bon had bought and smiled.
でも可愛いじゃない？
そりゃ新作じゃねえよ。先週出たなんだっけ。
I already forgot which one this was. Bon gave Yua a look that was begging for help. What was it? It was like,
涙目
that's right,
ゲロカイロン
teary-eyed
です。
Garo Froggy.
ああ、そう。それ。
And then I think the next one was like Samurai Garo Froggy or something like that.
ごめんね、ゆあちゃん。こんなむさ苦しいおじさんに付き合わされて大変だったでしょう。
いえ。
ひでえな、ももちゃん。こんなダンディーな中年はなかなかいねえぜ。
I love Bon. I love Bon. I really do. He's so good. Momose was, however, not interested in Bon's comments in the slightest. She ignored him and brought Yua a cup of tea herself. Bon sighed and sat in a chair as he looked around the office. Friezia's employees usually worked late, but today they'd all gone home right as the workday ended. The schedule on the whiteboard showed that none of them were working overtime today. With the office empty, it was as quiet as midnight.
で、ももちゃん、進行のこと調べてくれたかい？
Bingo! Before he'd gotten on the train at Harajuku, Bon had called Momose and asked her to investigate the company.
その前に、
Momose gave Yua a happy smile.
ゆあちゃん、お茶を飲んだら帰った方がいいわ。日も暮れたし、ご両親が心配するでしょ。
Yua could tell what Momose was thinking. What they were about to discuss wasn't safe for an ordinary girl like Yua to hear.
私のこと心配してくれているんですか？
ええ、そうよ。
Momose's face took on a grave look and she nodded. Yua was grateful, but shook her head.
私帰りません。みやちゃんの死の真相に近づくためなら何だってするつもりです。
あなたはこれ以上関わるべきじゃないわ。
私もとっくに当事者の一人です。
There was a strength in her words that made it clear she wasn't going to change her mind. Momose was surprised at this sudden, unexpected refusal.
意外と頑固ね。
ま、ここでのけ者にするのも酷ってもんだろ。いざとなったら警察で保護するさ。
Momose let out a deep sigh at Bon's unconcerned attitude.
バンちゃんにそんな権力があるのかしらね。
ま、こう見えても一応天下の警視庁捜査一課所属だからな。
あら、そう。
I'm surprised he still has a job there, to be honest.
これから聞くことは絶対に口外しちゃダメよ。これはあなたの命にも関わることだから、それを肝に銘じてね。
はい。
Yua nodded, a tense look on her face. Momose looked at her and sighed one more time before settling back into her seat. Her plump body became even rounder as she leaned over her laptop.
で、進行から何が出たんだい？
バンちゃんの予感的中って感じね。
Bon and Yua looked at her monitor from over her shoulder.
有限会社新興の親会社はのぞみテクノロジーよ。
のぞみテクノロジー？
のぞみグループか。こいつは驚きだな。
Oh my god. I just saw the thing at the top. That's why it's called NOAA Organization of Medical Instruments. That's so... Oh my god. The capital Z in the middle of organization is so unsubtle. They really wanted it to say Nozomi. I mean, that's fair. I get it. Like, Numi doesn't exactly... isn't quite as catchy, I suppose. That's so funny. Just the one out of place capital Z for the acronym. That's great.
進行は5年前にのぞみグループに吸収合併されたんだけど、それ以降発売した商品が次々と大ヒットしてるのよ。
I have to read all these froggies. Hold on. We got the Garo Froggy, we got the Fat Garo Froggy, Block Garo Froggy, Radiant Garo Froggy, No Face Garo Froggy, Cat Garo Froggy, Limited Time Garo Froggies, Ghost Garo Froggy, Sleepy Garo Froggy, Burning Garo Froggy, Zombie Garo Froggy, New Shipment Super Cheap, Drunk Garo Froggy, Bug-Eyed Garo Froggy. Oh my god, that's so funny. Specials on the left sidebar are bestsellers, including the Garo Froggy bonus buy campaign. Lots of accessories and info for your favorite bargains. Super cheap sales on now. Tons of product available. Find out when our next sales are and save big. Free shipping. He's the creepy, yucky character that everybody knows and loves. He got all the Garo Froggy merch you could want. His yucky expression is his trademark. I don't get that. Why is he yucky? Look, he's and you can see it on full display in all our products. Bring Garo Froggy into your life today. Oh my god, that's so funny. I don't see what about his expression is yucky. I think he's adorable. Anyways.
ゲロカイルンだけじゃないの。中国製バッグとか、タイ製のエコバッグとか、美脚パンツとか。で、この会社は商品の売り出し方が独特なの。いつも週末に新製品を一斉に投入するのよ。
The weekend. Bond's ears pricked up when he heard the word.
G レートとの関係は？
必然にしろ偶然にしろ、新興の商品がヒットしているのは G レートの変動の影響ね。それは確かよ。前に見せた G レートのグラフ覚えてる？ 5 年ぐらい前からずっと毎週末に値が上がってるって言ったわよね。新興がのぞみグループに合併された時期とぴったり一致するわ。
新興がレートを操作してると思うか？
新興自体はそんなに大きな会社じゃないからそれは無理よ。
となると親会社のぞみが怪しいな。グループ総出で取り組めばレート操作だってできそうじゃねえか。
待って、のぞみの方はもちろんだけど新興が興味深いのはそこだけじゃないの。設立当初の資料にまで遡ってみたらすごい大物が出てきたのよ。
大物？
井ノ原幸三。
はっは、明和党の重鎮じゃねえの。
新興設立当時はまだ民自党在籍時代だけどね。
つながってきたな。太田教授の時、それとこの前の地震の時、明和党は G レートに関係ありそうな件について報道規制の圧力をかけてきてる。
G レートのグラフのことだけど、いろいろ調べてたら他にも面白いパターンを見つけたわ。
There were two things she discovered so far about the GE rate. First, that it rose regularly on the weekends. It wasn't big of an increase, but it went up every weekend except on New Year's, during Golden Week and during Oban. Second, there was a huge rise during the earthquakes. The GE rate had shown incredible rise during the earthquake 2 months ago when 8 people had died, and then the one a week ago when over 100 people had died.
で、3つ目のパターン。この5年で4回だけ起きてるわ。時期はどれもまちまち。上昇値は地震の時ほどじゃないけど、結構高いの。最初はこれが何を意味してるのかわからなかったんだけど、調べていくうちにこの5年で4回と符合するイベントに行き着いた。
イベント。
もったいぶらずに教えろよ。
選挙よ。週3合わせて4度行われた選挙日とその4回の GE レート上昇の日は完全に同じだったわ。
Bond frowned and stroked his stubble.
野党だった明和党が大躍進を遂げて与党になった選挙は
4年前ですね。
そして井ノ原幸三が民自党を電撃的に離党して明和党に移ったのは5年前。
Suddenly, there was a heavy silence between the three of them.
なんだか私、お話を聞いていたら怖くなってきました。
Yua whispered, her voice quavering a little.
私もびっくりだわ。ここまでキーワードがぴったり当てはまるなんてね。
まだ状況証拠でしかないがな。それでも GE レートのことを知っていたからこそ気づけたわけだ。知らなかったらさっぱりだったろ。
Bond took his fan from his belt and casually began to wave it in his face.
ところで俺が調べた女子高生の生態について話していいかい？
Oh, do go on. Momose sighed and glared at him.
ねえ、いきなりそんなくだらないこと言い出すんじゃないわよ。ゆあちゃんがいるんだから少しは考えなさい。
ねえ、そう言うなって。
Bond grinned, but his eyes weren't laughing at all.
青いセナについてだ。正しくは畑野セナと言うべきか。なぜか最近になって母親の旧姓を使い始めたんだよな。その畑野セナの父親畑野一世は今失踪して行方不明らしいんだが、のぞみテクノロジーの元社員なんだよ。
どういうこと？
どういうことも何も、そのまんまさ。
Nozomi Technologies mostly makes medical device software. The Nozomi Group got their start with them. Got their start with them and went through a bunch of M&A until they were one of the biggest groups in Japan. I'm not 100% sure what M&A. I know what R&D is. I don't know what M&A is. Man, Google's getting a workout today. I don't even know if this is gonna bring up what I'm looking for, but M&A. Mergers and acquisitions. Okay. And now I know.
半年前、畑野セナの母親と生後1年の妹が謎の死を遂げている。父親の失踪はその直後だ。
We don't need to talk about that. Boy, I wish they were mysterious circumstances to me. I wish I didn't know the details about those circumstances.
畑野セナ本人もそれと前後して当時預けられていたとある施設を脱走するって騒ぎを起こした。
I definitely haven't been having nightmares about it.
施設ですか？
天神寮っていう非営利の自立更生支援施設だ。表向きはな。
表向きってじゃあ裏があるの？
スポンサーがいるのさ。これが天聖振興会だったりする。
天聖振興会。
You could not like make up a more, I mean, I guess they literally did, but that is like the most culty cult sounding cult that ever culted. The Divine Church of, oh, I already forgot what it was called. Cosmic Church of Divine Light. That is the cultiest cult that ever was a cult. Like,
また面倒な名前が出てきたわね。
ちなみにその天神寮は2年前まで別の名前だった。アークハートメディカル会。
I think we knew that already.
どんな偶然か、今や渋谷の若者のカリスマ的存在であるフェス、岸本綾瀬もここに入れられていたんだな。畑野瀬名とは入れ違いだったみてえだが。
Bond leaned forward toward the two of them.
でだ。ここからが興味深いんだが。アークハートメディカル会は天神寮と違ってメンタルケア施設だった。精神病患者を治療してたんだ。ところが2年前、アークハートメディカル会は突然非営利団体の自立更生支援施設天神寮へと姿を変えた。それによって精神科医が一斉に解雇されたんだが、その医師たちを丸ごと雇い入れたのが代々木にある AH 東京総合病院だった。
That's not suspicious at all. That doesn't raise any red flags or set off any alarms. Not at all. No, that's perfectly normal.
ノータリン事件で殺された人が勤めていたのってそこの病院でしたよね。
ああ、高階文夫。確かに AH 東京総合病院の精神科医だ。ついでに言うと、そこの病院長は井ノ原と懇意らしいぜ。
また井ノ原議員ね。
ゆあちゃん、君が追ってた西条匠も実は AH 東京総合病院をこの1ヶ月で3回訪れてる。
そうなんですか？
警察がずっと尾行してたんでね。確かだ。しかも西条には数年前にその病院に入院した記録まであった。彼の主治医は高階文夫だ。不思議なのは西条の入院記録なんだよな。彼は10歳で入院して約2年後にその記録が途切れてるんだが、退院した記録はなかった。
誰かが改ざんしたのかしら。
どうだかな。そこまでは調べが回らなくてね。ああ、それと畑野瀬名に関してもう一つ。最近彼女がよく行動を共にしている折原梢って生徒がいる。1ヶ月ほど前に転校してきた西条のクラスメートなんだが、この子も結構な曰くつきなんだ。折原の父親がのぞみグループの系列会社社員なわけよ。元は広島の方に住んでてな。折原梢の同級生3人が何者かに襲われて重傷を負うって事件が起きてる。3人ともが右腕を鋭利な刃物で切断されて、ひどいありさまだったらしい。折原もその場に居合わせていた。彼女が犯人じゃねえかって疑いがかかったんだが、凶器が存在しないって理由で逮捕はされてない。
I like how he says the weapon didn't exist. He has no idea how true that is. Like, I think he means it in a they couldn't find it way, but unintentionally he is 100% correct. The weapon didn't exist. That's really funny.
地元に居づらくなって引っ越したって噂もある。
凶器が存在しない？見つからないじゃなくて。
Oh, never mind. That is what he meant.
ああ、存在しないだ。何で切られたのかさえ分かってない。 犯行は折原以外には実行できない状況だった。だがたとえ折原が犯人だとしても、凶器をどこからか取り出すこともどこかに隠すことも不可能だった。かまいたち現象じゃないかなんて本気で議論されたぐらいだ。
何もないところから剣を取り出す手品。
Bond's like, oh yeah, about that.
かもしれねえな。
Remember our previous conversation.
悪いです。
Yua had her arms wrapped around her body, like she was trying to stop herself from shaking.
何かとても大きな意志が働いているような。
職業柄俺は陰謀論なんざ信じちゃいねえんだが、今回ばかりはその存在を信じそうになるね。明和とそしてのぞみグループ、 G レートに関係してると思われるのはその2つか。
天聖振興会も叩けば埃が出てきそうね。もともとあまりいい噂は聞かないし。
Momose took a sip of her tea and shrugged.
あんちゃんには呆れるわ。本来の仕事をほったらかしにしてこんなことを調べてたなんて。
元はといえばももちゃんが G レートのことを教えてくれたのがいけないんだぜ。
そうだけど、それで捜査本部から外されちゃったら世話ないわ。本当に不器用なんだからあんたって人は。
She wasn't blaming him, though. It was a very roundabout way of giving him a compliment. Momose gave him a lot of grief, but in her own way, she respected him.
おっと電話だ。
Bond's phone began to ring. He looked at the LCD screen and saw it was from an unlisted number.
もしもし。
There was heavy static on the line. Bond moved the phone away from his ear and looked at the signal strength. It was good. The problem was on the other end. They must be somewhere with really bad reception, he thought.
おい、誰だ。
Oh, here we go. It was the unknown caller who'd been threatening him lately. The voice sounded mechanical. They were probably using a voice changer. Bond chuckled.
あんたか。いい加減名乗ってくんねえかな。手を引けって言われてもな。そもそも
I love
何から
Bond.
手を引きゃいいんだ。そこを具体的に言ってもらわねえと。
This was always where it ended. They'd say back off twice, and then they'd hang up. Every time, it was always the same pattern. No matter what Bond said, they never spoke another word. But today it was different.
ああ
No! No! Sua, my boy!
誰だ。
No! Only then did Bond figure out who's on the other end of the phone.
諏訪か。
Oh, they better not kill Sua. Oh, do it.
誰にやられた。今どこにいる。相手は一人なんだな。
I'm gonna be mad. I'm gonna be mad. I'm going to be mad if they kill Sua. I'm gonna be very disappointed. Oh,
諏訪、おい、諏訪。
but no matter how much Bond yelled, nothing more came from the phone. I mean, you got the place. Go, 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 go! He hung up. Momose and Yua were looking at him, concerned.
スワちゃんに何かあったの？
Bond stood up and lightly slapped himself on the cheeks.
諏訪が人質に取られた。どうやら AH 東京総合病院にいるみてえだ。
ま さか名和と。
ああ、わかんねえな。このままじゃまずい気がする。
応援を頼んだ方がいいわ。
大ごとにしたらそれこそ諏訪の命はねえよ。俺一人で様子を見てくる。
Bond put his fan on the desk in front of Momose. Then he looked at each of the women in turn. There was a bold look on his face that was nowhere to be found a moment ago.
ももちゃんとゆあちゃんもどこかに身を隠せ。わかったな。
I'm gonna be mad if they kill Bond too, for the record. Like, I'm gonna be mad if they kill Sua, but I'm gonna be equally mad if they kill Bond. And doubly mad if they kill them both. I found myself heading back to the base. My legs were so heavy, you'd think someone had stuffed them with lead. It wasn't just my legs, my whole body was heavy. I told myself that this weight I was feeling was proof that I was real. Nobody paid any attention to me as I walked on unsteady feet through the streets of the city at night. Until just a little while ago, I'd been so afraid that people would notice me, would laugh at me, that I screamed to them in my mind not to look at me. Right now, I wanted anybody to look at me. I wanted them to see me. I wanted them to be aware I existed. It was the exact opposite of what I wanted just a little while ago. But nobody looked at me. If I screamed, they might look at me with contempt, but I didn't have the courage. I gripped my phone with sweaty hands. It was the phone I'd gone to buy with Nanami. There were just 4 numbers in its contact list. Rimi's number, Nanami's number, Misumi's number, and the number of my parents' house. I tried as hard as I could to think of a way to use these 4 numbers to prove I was real.
あなたは妄想の存在なんだよ。
No, I'm not a delusion. I'm real. I'm Takumi Nishijo. I'm 17 years old. I'm a second-year student in a Suime Academy. I have a mom, a dad, a little sister.
助けて。僕を証明して。
This poor kid. I keep saying that, but I truly mean it. I feel so bad for him. I was shaking terribly. My teeth were chattering. I wasn't cold, but I was shaking.
助けてよ。
The number I chose was Misumi's.
Hi.
ミス。
ダークだろ。どうしたんだ。リミとうまいこと言ったか。ちゃんと童貞卒業できたんだろうな。感謝しろよ。気を使って2人にしてやったんだからよ。
Misumi was the same as ever. It was a relief. He knew me. He knew I was Takumi Nishijo. That was proof I couldn't be a delusion. Rimi was just lying.
そういえば、ついさっき美奈子から言われたんだけどよ。
え、美奈子。
ああ、俺の女。で、美奈子が言うんだよ。ここ1ヶ月ぐらい、日常と急に仲良くなったけど、なんでって。こいつ何言ってんだって最初は思ったんだけど、そもそも俺、普通だったらお前みたいなやつとは絶対関わろうとしねえんだよな。リミを通して知り合ったってのは、なんとなく記憶にあるんだけどよ。細かいことはなぜか思い出せねえんだよな。
It was the same. The same as what I'd just experienced. No, please no. Don't say another word. Just talk about girls like you always do. Why do you have to talk about this today, of all days?
お前さ、
Oh god, what's he gonna say?
いつ俺とダチになったんだ。
Nah! I got scared and hung up the phone. I thought I was going to cry, but no tears came. Instead, it just felt like my heart had been ripped apart. Next, I decided to call my parents. none of that, thank you. With trembling fingers, I managed to select the number and press the call button. Nanami was the one who'd saved my parents' number into my phone. I hadn't been the one to do it, so it should definitely be the right number. Would Dad be home at this hour? Or would Mom pick up? Was Nanami there? If they did pick up, what would I say? Was I supposed to ask if I was really their son? Yeah, that would go over well, I think. They might think I was an idiot. It was a stupid question, after all. What if they said no? What if they said, our Takumi is in the living room eating dinner with Nanami? What if I called them to prove I was real and ended up proving I was fake? What if they said, who are you? All kinds of terrible thoughts filled my head. I didn't want to know. I was so scared. I was going crazy. It hurt to breathe. I couldn't get the air into my lungs. And then, someone picked up. I tensed as I held the button up to my ear.
あなたがおかけになった電話番号は現在使われておりません。番号をご確認の上、もう一度おかけ直しください。
That's not a good sign. Nobody was going to prove that it was real. Nobody was there to help. I wanted to die. I looked up and saw that I was on Yamanote Street. It was full of speeding cars. No, you know what? How about nothing? How about nothing again? Maybe I'd be better off dead. If I wasn't real, there was no point in me being alive. No, you're good, dude. I'm not gonna hurt you. Oh, God. If I was a monster, the only thing waiting for me in this world was suffering. There'd be no hope, no dreams. My own existence disgusted me. I wanted to be free from all this. If I died, I could be free. If I was dead, I wouldn't have to think about these things. I wouldn't have to suffer. Nobody would laugh at me anymore. Nobody would betray me anymore. I longed for nothingness. No, you're good. I took a heavy, slow step forward. Oh, wait, did I? No, don't do that. Don't do that. No need. Found a spot without a traffic light. I staggered out into the road. It felt like salvation was waiting for me there. No need for that. The bright lights of a car's headlights, the piercing noise of a car's horn, the unnerving sound of screeching brakes. Come on, kill me. I'm not real. I'm a monster. Kill me. Do it! I'm right here! Alright. Kill me! Alright. The impact never came. I opened my eyes. The car stopped in front of me. I was still standing in the middle of the road. Hey, you're real! You're real and really blocking traffic. Get the fuck out of the road. The driver got out and was screaming something at me. He was poking me in the chest and yelling. Why? I fell to the ground and started to cry. Why wouldn't anyone save me? Why wouldn't anybody free me? If I wasn't real, did that mean I wasn't even worth killing? Ow. Rimi took out her phone as she walked beneath the train tracks at Shibuya Station. She'd come here straight after leaving Takumi. She picked up the name labeled Nana out of her contacts and called it. The phone was picked up immediately.
私、実はちょっとした報告があります。ナナちゃんをこれから助けに行こうと思って。
Rimi had a good idea of who had Nanami and where she was being held. She'd been in the same position herself. It was a part of her past she wanted to forget, but if it meant saving Nanami, she was willing to face her memories. The person on the other end of the phone reacted just as she had expected. Remy chuckled.
私って信用されてないな。平気だってば。
Both her and her expression seemed happy, even cheerful. There was no sign of the iron will inside her. Looking at her, you'd think she was just having a normal conversation.
昔の話だしね。そもそも私の感情とナナちゃんを助けることとどっちを優先させるかなんて決まりきってることだよ。言ったでしょ。私はあなたの力になりたいって。それにタクには関わらせたくないの。
Remy's expression clouded after she said those words.
ねえ、ちょっとだけ語っちゃっていいかな。タクにね、いろいろひどいこと言っちゃったんだ。しかもそんなことしておいてすごく自分勝手なんだけど、私彼と一緒に過ごした時間はとっても楽しかったって思っちゃってるんだ。何もかもが妄想でまみれたまやかしでしかなかったのに、学生生活もあの学校に私やタクが通ってることも、大臣と友達だっていうことも、私がタクと一緒にいようとしたことも、タクの存在そのものも。
Remy's pace began to slow, little by little. People she didn't recognize were overtaking her from behind.
タクってどうしようもないくらい情けなくて、どうしようもないくらい弱くて、きっと普通の女だったら見向きもしないような男の子なんだよ。
Damn. I mean, that's true, but hey. Rude. As she spoke, her grip on her phone tightened.
なのに私の心には楽しかったっていう気持ちがあるの。なのに私の心にはもっと一緒にいたかったっていう気持ちがあるの。この気持ちって何なのかな。
She looked up at the neon-lit sky. She couldn't see the stars. Remy stood there, unmoving for a moment. She smiled just a little at the person on the other end of the phone.
さてと、そろそろ切るね。本当に大丈夫だって。あなたは何も心配しないで。私が全部決着をつけてくるから。ね、匠。
Who the hell is this girl? What the hell is going on? Like, just when I thought, I'm like, all right, I'm putting the pieces together. I got this. All right, I understand what's going on here. It's weird, but I understand it now. And now who the hell is this girl? What the hell is going on? I no longer had the strength to do anything. The next thing I knew, I was back at the base. I must have gotten here somehow after failing to kill myself on Yamanote Street, but I couldn't remember how.
このコンテナって誰がどうやってここまで運んだんだろう。
That's also a really good question that I'm surprised I didn't ask yet and never thought about. Until now, I'd never even thought about it. But now I realized just how bizarre it was. It made me feel even worse. When I closed the door, the room was pitch black. The room became pitch black. I leaned up against it, motionless. The only sounds in the quiet room were the rumbling of my computer fan and my own shallow breathing. I thought that maybe in the darkness, I wouldn't have to think about how ugly I was, but the opposite was true. With the silence and darkness surrounding me, Remy's cruel words were echoing in my mind over and over again.
あなたは妄想の存在なんだよ。
Even my crying sounded creepy and disgusting. I felt like I was gonna vomit. I was creepy enough already. Even if I didn't even exist like regular people did, that was even worse. I wanted to just disappear. I slowly walked over to the other side of the room, tripping over the garbage on the floor as I went. I turned on the lights and drove away the darkness. My eyes fell on the Sarah 10 post-awakening version figure on my desk. I grabbed it and slumped into my chair. I held Sarah 10 close to my chest. She was so small, so hard. She wasn't breathing. She wasn't speaking to me. She didn't have the warmth a 3D girl did. Nope. Nope, I've sworn them off. No red, no green. Only reality from now on. But right now, oops. Sarah 10 was all I had. Remy had left me. Nanami was missing. Senna had tried to kill me. Kozupi hadn't tried to stop her. Yua was my enemy. And Ayase was in the hospital. Those were the only girls whose names I knew. None of them were going to do anything to help me. Reality was cruel. It didn't care about a monster like me. I gripped Sarah 10 with shaking hands, tighter and tighter, until I thought she'd break. I wanted to just disappear. Nope. Nope, 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 nope. But if that's what I thought, why not do something about it? No! I was just pretending to be the hero of my own big sad story. Nobody would take pity on me if I just sat here feeling sorry for myself. Nobody was looking at me. Everybody had abandoned me. No, they'd never been close enough to me to abandon me. I never had any friends. I didn't even have a family. I didn't even exist. Fine then, just die already. No, don't need to. Don't think that way, my guy. I put Sarah 10 down and stood up from my chair. I found a roll of cord under my bed and picked it up. I made a loop in it big enough for my head to fit through, then tied the other end tightly to the pipe that served as the edge of my bunk bed. Oh boy. I don't like where this is going. There was nobody to stop me. There was nobody but me in the room, of course. The cord was tied pretty tight. I realized that dying might be easier than I thought. I stuck my head through the loop and wrapped it around my neck. Bunk bed wasn't tall enough for me to hang myself from it while standing. But if I kicked my legs out from under me, that wouldn't matter. All I needed was the courage to do it. Gave Sarah 10 one last glance. She was smiling at me from the desk. The only ones who were there to see me go were Sarah 10 and the rows of wives on my shelves. I was so sad, so lonely. I felt a sniffle in the back of my nose. Sayonara. I put my whole weight into the cord and kicked my legs out in front of me. The cord tightened around my neck. I could feel the pressure. It was biting deep into my flesh. This is not... I'm not a fan of this. I don't like that this is going this direction. It hurt. Yeah, it hurt. Not fun. Don't do that. I realized both my hands had their fingers at my neck, trying to loosen the tight noose. I went to bring my legs back down and stand. But then I wouldn't be able to die. If I didn't keep putting my full weight on it, I wouldn't be able to strangle myself. I decided to just endure the pain. Damn, dude. I mean... My throat hurt. It wasn't the lack of air that hurt so much as the pain of the cord digging into my neck. Come on, die already. The pain continued. It was so painful that I couldn't even pass out. My body shook. I was spinning in circles, looking like an idiot with my legs kicking out. The pipe on the bunk bed creaked. And then, my body lost its support. fell butt first onto the floor. The pain from my pelvis made me roll around on the floor in agony. I gasped for breath. I looked up at the cord with teary eyes and saw that it had snapped in two. Why was I failing now? Sure, I was a loser. I was a failure of a human being who'd never done anything worthwhile in his entire life. Hell, I wasn't even human. But it wasn't fair that I couldn't even die. Why couldn't I die? I wanted to die. I wanted to die. After the pain I'd experienced trying to hang myself the first time, I didn't have the courage to try it again. I need a moment. I need a moment. Just... Even now, I was still looking for others to help me. It was so disgusting I made myself want to vomit. I really was just so pathetic. Fuck. God damn. Hospitals empty out fast at night. Perhaps there was too much life and too much death in the daytime, so these hours were used to restore the balance. There was no smell of life and death at this hour, only an empty silence. Yasuji Bonds chuckled to himself. He was a weird guy to be thinking about these things. But it did seem especially quiet today. It wasn't even lights out yet, but the lights in the hallways were off and there were no nurses to be seen. The second Bond set foot in the lobby, he started to have a really bad feeling. There was no real reason for it. It was just what you might call a detective's intuition. My intuition's pretty damn good, too, isn't it? Maybe the strangely religious thoughts he was having were his way of trying to take his mind off the feeling. He'd taken a taxi here, and called Sua several times on the way. But Sua hadn't picked up once, a fact that spoke more about his current situation than any words he could say. There was no time to waste. He had to find where in this huge hospital Sua was being held, and then rescue him. And without the kidnapper finding him either. Any kind of shoes would echo off the linoleum floor. Bon had taken off his leather boots before he came into the hallway. Lobby, not hallway, lobby. That word was lobby. It was almost winter. He could feel the coldness of the floor through his socks, and it made him shiver. The sound of the main entrance's automatic door opening echoed through the lobby before he heard the girl calling his name. When he saw Yua Kusunoki come into the lobby, he was so stunned that he couldn't speak. He quickly ran over to the girl. She had a nervous look in her eyes as she glanced around her.
Oi, なんでついてきたんだ? 身を隠せって言っただろうね。
すみません。でも、私...
Bon looked around for Momose, but she was nowhere to be found. Bon scratched his head. She'd come here alone.
今すぐ戻れ。これは遊びじゃねえんだぞ。
それは分かっているつもりです。
分かってるなら帰るんだ。
Then he heard a creaking sound coming from one of the hallways connected to the lobby. The hallway was empty and dark, and in the middle of it was an empty wheelchair, slowly coming toward them. And at almost the same time, they heard the sound of someone running up the stairs.
とにかくユアちゃんは帰れ。いいな。
Bon spoke, then started to run. He raced up the stairs, following the sound of the footsteps, without bothering to wait for her answer. He was faster and more agile than you'd ever think he was from his usual laid-back attitude. Following the footsteps led him to the roof of the outpatient building. There was a little garden there with planters full of flowers. It was probably a place of relaxation for the patients here, but unfortunately, it wasn't lit up. He could tell what kind of flowers were blooming. He couldn't tell what kind of flowers were blooming all around him. The wind was strong up on the roof. Still out of breath, he glanced quickly around him. The man whose footsteps he'd heard definitely ran up here, but then he disappeared. Had he fallen for somebody's trap? The footsteps had almost seemed like they were there to attract his attention. The only possible reason was that they wanted to lure him out here. Bond didn't have a gun on him right now. He was nervous without a weapon. He looked around to see if anything might serve as one, but came up empty-handed. He gulped and wiped the sweat out on his forehead away with his fingers. One step at a time, he proceeded toward the center of the garden. There were plenty of places for a person to hide. Behind that bench or on the other side of that planter. He sharpened all his nerves to be ready no matter where the attack came from. The center of the garden was a big circle with benches all around its outer perimeter. He looked at each one in turn, then noticed something strange on one of them. He slowly walked over to it, being careful not to let his guard down. As he got closer, it began to take shape. Oh my god. Darth Spider! It was the size of a soccer ball, round and black. It was a severed human head. No, it was not! Bond had been involved in a few murder cases where the victims had been dismembered. It reminded him of the photos he'd seen. His bad feeling got worse and worse. The thought that it might have been his partner's head filled him with rage and frustration. Bond clenched his jaw hard. He took another step toward the bench. The thing on the bench wasn't moving at all. A cold wind blew. And then he heard the gunshot. So fast and sudden that he froze. He was supposed to drop to the ground and look in the direction of the sound, but he couldn't. No. Actually, there was no need to even bother anymore. He felt a burning pain in his chest and touched it with his hands. No! No! Oh man, I'm gonna be mad. It was slick and wet. Something was pouring out of his body. He recognized the raw stench. God damn it. Then a moment later, his brain recognized the pain. He'd been shot. By the time he realized, his legs had already given out. Man. He'd fallen face first to the ground, unable to stand. It was... What the hell is happening? The footsteps from before were coming closer to him now. He looked up at the approaching man with vision that was already starting to blur. Black shadow, a gun in its hand. It was too dark to see the man's face. I recognize the suit though. What the fuck, dude? He heard a voice. It was a voice he knew. Why does every character I like that's like goofy and like why does every character like that turn out to be a fucking monster? I'm mad. Like, I love those characters and they always turn out to be like evil monster man. It sucks. Mamoru Sua walked right past his older partner, whispering in a mocking tone. What the fuck, dude? Sua laughed as he reached over and picked up the thing next on the bench. Sua walked back to him and held the helmet right in front of his face. I'm mad. I'm mad. He chuckled. He could barely even see now. His limbs felt terribly cold. There was a pain in his chest, but it wasn't unbearable. He felt an intense gaze, like somebody looking at him, but he couldn't tell if it was Sua or someone else. Realizing he only had a few minutes left to live, he forced his body to turn over. Now he was stretched out, looking up at the sky. It was cloudy, though, and he couldn't see the stars. Even if they had been out, his vision was too dark now to see them. As he coughed, he could taste the blood in his mouth.
そうお前はバカだまだガキでどうしようもないくらいのバカなデカだだが俺はお前のこと結構買ってた
自分は先輩が鬱陶しくてしょうがなかったっすよ
まあ気持ちはわかる
His breathing was getting rapidly shallower. There was a wheezing sound as air fled from his throat. His vision was now totally black.
何者なんだお前
That was Bond's last question before he passed out. Sua answered as he pointed the gun at him.
魔法使いっす
バカが
At some point, the wind had stopped. The darkness was suddenly quiet. The two silhouettes stopped moving. But that was only for a minute. Sua slowly pulled the trigger.
先輩に信仰の救いあれ
I'm mad. This is depressing, but more importantly, I'm mad. I'm considering just calling it now because I'm grumpy now. I'm not happy. I'm not happy, and I want, but I want to keep going, but I also am just not. I'm also just grumpy. I'm just that's not cool. I don't like that. Why'd he die? Sue, you suck. Why'd you do that? Like, this is literally me just trying to decide whether or not I even want to keep going. I'm sad about it. All right, I'll do it. I'm gonna do another half hour, I guess, or something like that. Do at least 2 hours. Phrasing it like it's some kind of sentence. No, I want. The more answers I get, the more I realize I never wanted them in the first place. Like, that's not true. I want more answers. All right, Grim. Hey, lol. Yeah, what a hilarious chat room to enter. So many lolols. I would even drop in a ruffle now. Have you gone crazy? Lol. Or did your IRL girlfriend dump you? Let me tell you something you'll want to hear then. Oh my god. You stay a virgin till age 30. Oh wait, this might apply. I mean, what? Oh, no, yeah. What is this? What is this information you have for me, Grim? Please, go on. This... You learn to use magic. I did not know this. Oh my god. That's important, so don't forget it. It'll be on the test. Grim, read the room, my dude. And while I'm telling you things that are important, let me guess, there was another, big murder. Shibuya's Scramble Crossing. So... 1 hour from now, something big is gonna go down. Well, cut that shit out. No. Go see what's happening then. Something tells me he's got the whole day planned. You're famous. They'll all be excited to see you. Maybe somebody will kill you there? That got his attention. Oh, this is really sad. I turned off the monitor, the power to the monitor, and pulled my legs up onto the chair. I was holding my one ally. For some reason I thought that was that, but it wasn't. I was holding my one ally, Seratan, in my hand. My hands were so sweaty that her slender torso was now sticky and disgusting. Her arms were bent in an unnatural angle, too. That voice. No. How? There was no mistaking it. Out of all the girls who visited the base, only one was the type to yell like that. Nanami was here. I was a little shocked at how little emotion this inspired in me. I just didn't care. Even if Nanami was here now, what difference did it make? It wasn't even that strange that she'd be here. Rumi had just said she was going to save her, right? The way she was yelling was starting to annoy me. Monster, just leave me alone. Just forget about me and think about your right hand instead. Not that I even know what happened to it. I never wanted to talk to another person again. Yeah, Rimi said not to do any more delusions, so I'm not doing any more delusions. I refuse. But she was just so annoying that I found myself getting out of the chair and heading to the door. It felt like it was taking a really long time to get there. That's when I realized I was afraid of seeing her. Oh, look, she's got both of her arms. Neat. I opened the door and saw Nanami there. She started in surprise, letting out a small cry, then fell silent. She had been so loud a moment ago, and now she was quiet. I didn't understand. I'd never really seen her like this. So I started to wonder, was this the real Nanami? I couldn't say a word. I ignored her question and went back inside and sat on my sofa. I gripped the Seiratan figure again. I was holding it a little too tightly, and my hand hurt a little, but even that pain was a delusion. Nanami followed me into the room, silently. She seemed like she didn't know what to do, so she moved a few of the magazines out of the way and crouched down on the floor. She didn't say a word. Normally this would be when she started to lecture me about something. But instead, she just crouched there, staring at the floor, depressed. I could see a bandage around her right wrist, poking out from under her sleeve. I was about to tell her that if she sat there like that, I'd be able to see her panties, but I stopped. This Nanami was just a delusion. I was too. The whole world was just a delusion. Delusion taking place inside my brain. Me and everything else I was seeing right now. All delusions. All fake. It didn't matter whether or not I could see her panties. Hell, it didn't even matter if she walked through the streets of Shibuya naked. Don't do that. I looked away from Nanami and up at the ceiling. I started to count the rust spots there for no real reason. I didn't want Nanami to be in my field of vision. It would just make me even sadder. The silence continued. The only sound in the room was the sound of my computer fan. Nanami always used to be so annoying and loud when she came to the base. Maybe even those memories were a delusion.
ねえ、お兄。何か喋ってよ。
She sounded depressed. This wasn't the Nanami I knew, which meant she must be a delusion.
どうして何も言ってくんないの？包帯のこととか気になんないの？
I focused my mind on counting the rust spots. I didn't care. You're just a delusion. Even if you're real, you're not my problem anyway. If I'm a delusion, I'm not even really your brother.
何か言って。お願いだから。
Suddenly, I could hear the sound of rustling cloth echo throughout the room. My ears were ringing. My head hurt so bad, but this was all just a delusion anyway, so I didn't care. Nanami could take off her clothes or her bandage. It didn't matter what weird thing she did. It wouldn't surprise me. I didn't care. This was just a delusion. I was one too. Of course weird stuff would happen randomly. That was how it worked.
ほら、見てよ。
I didn't look. I was scared to look.
青あざ、だいぶ消えてくれたな。最初はすごく腫れてたんだよ。バスケしてて転んで打撲したんだ。見てもくれないの？ナナってお兄に心配されたこと一度もないな。逆はしょっちゅうなのに。
I didn't want to see anything anymore. I didn't want to think about anything. I called out to the girl in front of me, who might or might not be my sister. There was only one thing I wanted now. Just outside the front lobby of Tokyo General Hospital, Yua Kusunoki was staring at what lay beyond the automatic door. Bon had told her to leave, so she had come outside, but she'd been too worried to go any further than that. Bon had disappeared up the stairs, chasing a mysterious figure. It had been less than 3 minutes, but she was looking into the lobby to see if he would come back. After Bon had gone alone to the hospital, Yua had ignored Momose's warnings and gone after him. She needed to do whatever it would take to find out the truth about her sister's death and who had killed her. Somebody had sent Bon those threatening phone calls and kidnapped his partner, Sua. Whoever it was, they were probably the person who killed Mia. Something was telling her that, and so when the urge had come to follow him, she couldn't fight it off. Despite all of his warnings that getting involved was dangerous, she'd come here anyway. Of course, now that she was here, there wasn't anything she could do. She was just a powerless teenage girl. Her hope had been that Bon would heroically catch the killer, and then she'd have a chance to question him. Why did my little sister have to die? That was the question Yua wanted to ask most of all. She felt somebody looking at her. She glanced around nervously. The sun hadn't been down for more than 2 hours, but the hospital's front entrance was eerily silent. The after-hours entrance was right next to it. This was also where the emergency patients would be brought in, but there was nobody there. A train was passing by right alongside the hospital, but there was almost no Oh my god. There were almost no cars on the wide street in front of it, and no pedestrians at all. This spot, between Shibuya and Shinjuku, two towns that never slept, was like a shadow born of two powerful lights. Whoever was looking at her, she couldn't find them. She put a hand on her chest and took a deep breath to calm her nervousness. Then, for no real reason, she looked toward the hospital wards. A girl was standing there. The lights at the entrance to the wards were off, and it was hard to see, but for some reason she could see the girl clearly against the darkness.
Mia-chan.
She whispered, knowing it was impossible, and yet unable to stay silent. The girl looked just like her. It looked just like her dead younger twin sister. She recognized the girl's outfit, too. It was her younger sister's clothes. She thought for a moment that it might be a ghost, and the hairs on the back of her neck stood up on end. The girl turned around and ran, heading toward the automatic door that marked the entrance to the hospital ward. When she got close, the door opened. So she wasn't a ghost then. Yua stood there for a moment, stunned, before starting to run after her. The wards must have been past lights out, because it was even quieter than the outside. Each step Yua took echoed far down the hallways, just like the outside. Just like the outside, the quiet was almost eerie. The girl disappeared up the stairs. She heard what sounded like a faint laugh. It was like a scene out of a horror movie, Yua thought to herself. She took a slow step up the stairs, and then another. She arrived at the second floor. She looked down the hallway, but there was nobody there. She wondered if maybe she was seeing things when... She heard a girl's laugh from the floor above. The voice, the way she laughed, Yua knew them both well. Yua went up to the third floor, looked down the hallway, and saw a girl who looked just like her standing there. One of the victims in the first New-Gen case, the group dive, her sister, who died 2 months ago. She was standing there, as real and solid as anything around her. Yua took off her glasses and rubbed her eyes, but when she put them back on, Mia was still there.
Mia-chan, nano? Doumou?
The voice was far too clear to be a hallucination. There was a fearless smile on the girl's face. It was just like Yua remembered her. Mia was always like that. She always used to laugh in such a mocking way so she could play the villain.
Mia-chan. 本当に私がミアであなたがユアだと思う？どういうこと？もし逆だったらあなたはミア、死んだのはユア、殺したのはあなた。何を言っているの？あなたは親に愛される姉が疎ましくてネットで殺人を依頼したのよ。しかも自殺に見せかけるように見ず知らずの4人も一緒に飛び降りさせた。あなたは姉になりすまして妹の死を悲しみ涙を流しているふりをしながらこれまで姉が独占していた親の愛を手に入れて心の中ではほくそ笑んでいる。違うわ。私はユアよ。誰がそれを証明するの？私はユアのはず。でも確信が持てない。私を私だと証明するものって何？顔？名前？記憶？自分のことなのに。自分で自分を証明するなんて不可能よ。私がミアだっていう可能性も あるの。あなたはいろいろと調べていたじゃない。多重人格、浮遊病、記憶捏造、それから妄想。
All the research Yua had done about how imperfect memories were and how easily they could be faked suddenly seemed truly real for the first time. She didn't know who she was. Who was she? Mia shook her head violently.
あなたは誰？
Yua, the girl who always played the goody two-shoes, who was automatically loved and praised by her parents. Mia, the girl who always played the bad girl, who actively sought out her parents' hate while being jealous of the affection they gave her older sister.
さあ、私も。
What the fuck? Mia, or maybe Yua, began to guide Yua, or maybe Mia. Oh my god, wow. Fuck this game. They know exactly what they're doing! Without a sound, they began to walk.
私と同じ目に遭いなさい。
Yua and Mia, two identical twins, indistinguishable from each other. The boundary between them grew more and more indistinct. The two buildings were two huge boxes standing in the darkness. But compared to the huge skyscrapers of Shinjuku next to them, they were like children looking up at grown-ups. The roof of the ward. That was where Mia had brought Yua. Or Yua had brought Mia. I don't fucking know. There was a gap torn in a corner of the tall fence surrounding it, just big enough for a person to pass through. It wasn't clear who made it or why. There are a lot of those going around, very like human-shaped holes in things that are supposed to prevent people from falling off buildings. Mia and Yua went through the gap and stood on the edge of the roof. In front of them was the outpatient building. It wasn't as tall as the building they were on, and they couldn't see the garden below. Or they could see the garden below. But there were no lights there, and even if someone was there, Yua couldn't tell. The wind was blowing hard on the roof. The two girls' clothing and long, soft hair flapped violently as the wind blew into them.
私たちはもともと一つだったんだから。また戻るだけ。一歩を踏み出せば、あなたは私になる。
Yua's voice was monotone. Her eyes were empty. She spread out her hands to keep her balance against the violent winds. Mia was right next to her, spreading out her hands in the same way. She turned to Yua and laughed.
耐える必要なんてないよ。
That's a scary face.
あなたは私の痛みを知らなくちゃならない。さあ、飛んで。そうすれば、私もあなたも同じ痛みを共有するわ。私はどっちなの？私？あなた？それを聞いても意味はないわ。どっちにしたって。あなたは飛ぶ。
All hesitation disappeared from within her, and Yua went to take a step forward. A gunshot tore through the night air. Yeah, I definitely wanted to experience this again. Suddenly, Yua came back to her senses. She looked down beneath her and screamed. She saw how high up she was, and suddenly felt dizzy. She lost her balance and almost fell. She grabbed on desperately to the fence behind her, and just barely managed to avoid falling. The gunshot had come from the roof on the other building below her. She looked down at it again. She could just barely make out human figures in the middle of the rooftop garden. There were two of them. One was lying on the ground. The other was standing next to it.
Bansan.
Had the detective shot someone? Or had someone shot him?
何をしてるの?
Be quiet, hallucination of my grief and remorse?
どうして私と同じ痛みを味わおうとし
I'm
ないの？
solving a murder.
そんなの卑怯よ。ずるいわ。みやちゃん。違うわ。私はユアよ。ユアは私。ミヤはあなた。あなたは一体何なの？私はあなたの望んだもの。あなたは私の望んだもの。
Mia leapt at her. She wrapped her hands around Yua's neck. Yua felt incredible pressure on her throat. She couldn't breathe. Mia was no ghost. There was a real physical body in front of her, and it was strangling her.
お願い。死んでよ。今日ぐらい私のお願いを聞いて。いつも我慢してきたんだから。
Yua's vision turned red. Her hands flailed through the air, but she couldn't grab onto anything. She was going to die here. In the face of this overwhelming fear, Yua used every muscle in her whole body to push back against Mia, with a strength she didn't even know she had. But Mia was strong. She didn't budge at all. Now even Yua's thoughts were turning red. Her mind felt like it was being covered in sticky red blood. She shook her hands violently. I don't like that sound. And her glasses fell off. Now, from the outside, you couldn't tell who was who. Whoever won could be whoever they wanted to. If Yua died, Mia could become Yua. If Mia died, Yua could become Mia. Yua felt a growing sense of resignation within her. In front of her was the face of Mia, or perhaps Yua, blurred with hatred. She looked away, not wanting to see it. With red eyes and red vision, she saw one of the flower beds, and the flowers on the rooftop garden. It felt like there was a strange shadow mixed in with them. Oh my god, she gets the sword. Maybe her eyes were playing tricks on her without her glasses. I see that sword. It's like a freaking samurai blade. But she couldn't even breathe. She felt a tiny sense of peace working its way through the pain. Part of her thought that maybe it would be okay to give up, but her survival instincts made her reject the peace she felt. Yua reached out toward the strange shadow. The planter was at least 2 meters away. It was far too far away for her hand to reach. But she felt something cold and hard in her hand. She grabbed it, almost unconsciously. And then her fading consciousness became clear again, as if a fog had lifted. Okay, that's cool. A powerful, invisible shockwave shook the air. Red lights, like flower petals, danced in the sky, and her twin sister was knocked away. Yua coughed and staggered to her feet, then looked down in awe at the item in her hand. It was a sword. So sharp, so dazzling and elegant. So aquiline. Oh, Google! I have something for you! Aquiline. Of a person's nose, hooked or curved like an eagle's beak. Like an eagle. Okay, that's a weird way to describe a sword, but hey, I guess it kind of applies, right? Like the end of it kind of curves up or curves down. I don't know. It's like an eagle's beak, apparently. So pure. So bewildering and mystical. So delicate and fragile. And so beautiful it brought you to tears. Twice. The thing in her hands. The first thing it reminded her of was the sword she'd told Bon about. The one she'd seen Ayase holding in the tunnel. Now I have the S word. Mia crawled out of the planter that the shockwave had knocked her into. She was holding her head in pain.
あなたは何をしたの？私はミヤちゃん。私やっと分かったわ。どうしてここまで一生懸命あなたの死の真相を調べていたのか。私を殺そうとしたの？私はまた殺されるところだったの？また？結局私はあなたが怖かったのよ。当てつけに死なれたと思ったの。あなたがわからなかったの。あなたが死んだ理由は私のせいじゃないって証明して安心したかった。最低のお姉ちゃんね。どうして死んでくれないのよ。
There was no sense in talking to her anymore. Two hearts that had once been one were now completely separate, never to rejoin again. Mia came at her once more. Yua remembered the pain she'd felt just a moment ago and shivered in terror. There was a flash. The sword in her hand curved in a sharp arc. It sliced the ghost in two. Mia froze. She had a stunned expression on her face. She ran her hands along the wound, which ran from her left side to her right shoulder. There was no blood.
ミヤちゃんは2ヶ月前に死にました。それならあなたは誰なんですか？
Large particles, big enough to see with the naked eye, began to appear around Mia's body. Her body began to bubble and gradually fall apart, its outlines fading away. And then it transformed into something else. Yua looked on in shock. In Mia's place appeared a fat man who was wearing a denim shirt and filthy jeans and had a backpack on his back. Oh my god, it was just one of those dudes. It was just one of those random carrier dudes. It was a man she'd never seen.
誰？あなた誰？どうしてミヤちゃんの姿に？どうやって？
Confused, Yua began to step backwards, the D-sword still in her hand. The man hadn't expected her to see him, it appeared, and he was beginning to panic himself.
お前こそなんでまさかこのガキギガロマニアックスか聞いてないぞくそどうしたら
The object was almost perfectly level as it flew at him, as if gravity didn't exist. What? By the time he turned around, it had already stabbed itself into the backpack he was carrying. A pale flash of light came from the backpack. He went perfectly stiff as if hit by an electric shock. His eyes rolled back into the back of his head, as he fell forward on his face. I'm just making up words now. I'm just throwing words in there. He was foaming at the mouth and his body was twitching. The thing that had struck his backpack was another sword, probably. Oh yeah. Oh, that's Ayase's sword. It was a beautiful curved sword like the one Yua had just grabbed from the air.
これ
Yua recognized the weapon. She'd seen it once before. Someone was coming closer. Yua looked up. She saw someone appear out of the darkness.
何事かと思った。
Yeah. She's the best. She's like still the best. She's my favorite. Out of everyone in this game, I think Bon was my favorite. Or at the very least, he was a close second. Still mad about it.
岸本さん。
Ayase gave Yua's sword a single, expressionless glance.
感じる。大いなる意志を。私がこの病院に居続けた意味はこういうことだったんだわ。
Yua had fallen to the ground in shock. Ayase picked up Yua's glasses off the roof and offered them to her, taking a knee to look down at her face. Her slender fingers gently stroked Yua's hair as she put the glasses on her face.
君も
グラジオールの黒騎士だったのね。
Her smile was weak and fragile.
僕を殺してくれないか。
Nanami's face tensed up, but she quickly forced a fake smile.
お兄、つまんない冗談やめなよ。
That wasn't how Nanami would react. Instead of laughing it off, the real Nanami would yell, "That's not funny!" And then I'd be in for a long lecture. Not that it mattered anyway. It didn't matter. If this Nanami wasn't going to kill me, then I wasn't interested in her at all. She could disappear right now and I wouldn't care. Saratan and I stared into each other's eyes. I just added deep, I don't know. If Saratan was 3D, she'd grant my wish, I knew. If I didn't exist anyway, why couldn't I be 2D instead?
ねえ、そんな冗談は置いといて、その話があるんだ。
I have incredible news for you, my dude. Some great news.
あのね、お兄にもらったバングル、なくしちゃったの。どうせ適当に扱ってたんだろうとか言わないでね。ナナ、そんなことしてないもん。本当に大切にしてたもん。なのに、どこでなくしたのかもわかんなくて。
She actually cared about that thing? How stupid. From my perspective, it was the stupidest thing in the world. It was a present from me, wasn't it? Nothing I gave somebody could have any value at all.
僕はもうそうじゃない。僕はもうそうじゃない。
Oh my god, this is really sad. Sucks. How could I be sure I had even given it to her? Maybe the fact that I'd given it to her at all was just a delusion too. This whole world was worthless. Everything in my memories was worthless. Also, that the eye on Sarah's hat is looking at me. It's looking at me, and I don't like it.
僕はもうそうじゃない。
It's making me uncomfortable.
僕はもうそうじゃない。
お兄が初めてくれたプレゼントだったのにな。なんでなくしちゃったりしたんだろう。
僕はもうそうじゃない。僕はもうそうじゃない。
お兄、聞いてる？
僕はもうそうじゃない。僕はもうそうじゃない。
お兄はどうしていつもそうなの？
Her head slumped forward. She clenched her fists tightly. Nanami's whisper was soft.
たまにはお兄ちゃんらしく頼りがいのあるとこ見せてよ。
What? You're asking the wrong person for help. I'm just a delusion.
僕はもうそうじゃない。僕はもうそうじゃない。
I stared at Saratan's smile, making sure not to let myself see anything else. There was no reason to listen to Nanami's words. There was no point. I was just a delusion.
今までずっとナナがしっかりしなきゃって思って頑張ってきたけど、でもね、やっぱりナナだってたまには誰かに甘えたいよ。誰かにじゃなくてお兄に甘えたいよ。
僕はもうそうじゃない。僕はもうそうじゃない。
だってお兄はナナのお兄なんだから。お兄に頼りたいって思うことナナにもあるんだよ。
僕はもうそうじゃない。僕はもうそうじゃない。
そりゃいつもああしろこうしろ言われてお兄も嫌だろうけど、それは お兄がだらしないから仕方なく。言いたいことはそういうことじゃなくて。
僕は妄想じゃない。僕は妄想じゃない。
I'm not sure how to feel right now. I'm not sure.
ナナだっていろいろ愚痴を聞いてもらいたい時とか泣きたい時とかあるんだよ。お兄に優しくしてもらいたい時とかあるんだよ。
僕は妄想じゃない。僕は妄想じゃない。
ねえお兄、ナナの話聞いてよ。ナナ、今すごく悲しいんだよ。お兄にもらった大切なバングルなくなっちゃって、声出して泣きたいくらい悲しくて辛くて、お兄に抱きしめてほしいのに、お兄に頭撫でて慰めてほしいのに。ねえお兄、今日だけはナナのわがまま受け止めてよ。
I slowly looked up and saw Nanami crying. She was trying to hold back the tears, but they were falling from her eyes anyways. Okay, this is escalating. This is I'm getting whiplash here. It's like all right, whip over here. This guy's having an existential crisis about his entire existence. Whip over here. This character you love, dead, murdered. Boom. Whip back over to existential crisis. Nothing is real. Everything is a lie. Whip over here. Assault to save a captive friend. What? I gotta go. I gotta take a break. My brain can't handle this much at once. All right. When I return to this, it will be this. But back and forth. Bond died. I'm mad about it. I'm still mad about that. I need to get over that before I can continue. Bye. No, you know what? I'm not even gonna sign up with a smile. Bye. I'm still mad about it. Bye.